Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.
Good morning from Eastern Canada. It's 10 a.m. on Sunday. And one day before the appearance celebration of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And we are gathered here together globally on our weekly Zoom meeting of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, the reading and discussion, which is part of our sadhana program that we provide for our members globally. This is part of the preaching efforts that we are making to help preserve Prabhupada's legacy in his original books, his tapes, and his letters. So this is, of course, very important because it's based on the principle of Guru Tattva, the principle of truth emanating from the lips of the pure devotee. And I wanted to, before we move forward with the reading of Prabhupada's diaries, just comment. I was speaking to quite a few devotees yesterday from around the world, and they were referring to the term Prabhupada. This Prabhupada term has become somewhat popular, and I just wanted to clarify for everyone the meaning of Prabhupada. It means a follower of Śrīla Prabhupāda. And it's important to understand the distinction between who we are and what we're doing, and the Prabhupada group that are followers. Because a Prabhupada follower is different than a Prabhupada disciple. Just so you know, I mean, myself and Yashodanandana Prabhu, and some of us, Dharma Bhavana, Janas Priya, etc., that are in this group, when we were actively participating in the ISKCON group in the 70s, no one referred to each other as Prabhupada Anuga. This concept came about after Prabhupada's demise because of the confusion that existed in the ISKCON group because of the initiating guru process revealing itself to be bogus, very bogus system of carrying on the disciplic succession. And a lot of people became disenchanted with it. And as a result, this term Prabhupada appeared. People would refer to him, "Are you a Prabhupada?" I go, yeah, I'm a follower of Śrīla Prabhupada, but first and foremost, we are disciples. Therefore, the term Prabhupada Disciples Association is how we refer to our membership. Someone that's a follower in the Prabhupada Disciples Association, we are hoping they'll move forward and eventually become a Prabhupada disciple with formal initiation. Just like in Mexico, we have this Prabhu Krishna Kishore, who's doing wonderful service, acting as temple president in the city of Mexico. He's printing books and going on Sankirtan and having feast programs and broadcasting the message of Lord Chaitanya to people in the Spanish-speaking world. Is he a Prabhupada Nuga? No. He's actually a Prabhupada disciple. Disciple is different than a Nuga. Very different. And this I want everyone to understand. We are either you're a follower of Śrīla Prabhupada aspiring to become his disciple, and in this way, forging the path back home, back to Godhead for yourself and the people in your particular preaching area, your Namhata program. So we are the Prabhupada Disciples Association and the Hare Krishna Society. We're very focused on that, protecting Prabhupada's legacy. And I wanted to make that clear. Same with the term Ritvik, Yashodananda Prabhu. You know, this was a term introduced by, I saw it on a video by Hridayananda Resnick, Howard Resnick, or whatever his name is. The former guru in ISKCON that was on the Peacock channel. Former guru. Oh yeah, one day you're Diksha guru, next day you're a former guru. So he called it Ritvikism, some kind of derogatory term to apply to us that care about protecting Prabhupada's legacy. This kind of verbal war against other groups or against this group is going on, and this to be expected. This is to be expected, everyone, that people will be carrying different opinions of what a Prabhupada Nuga is, what a Ritvik is. Remember, Ritvik means a system for initiation given by Śrīla Prabhupada to us in order to continue to expand Prabhupada disciples. 2 points here today. Prabhupada Nuga, Ritvikism. We're not Ritviks. We're not Prabhupada Nugas. We are Prabhupada disciples and aspiring disciples in this group. So I hope that gives you a clear understanding of what our position as a group is, and you can repeat that to other people so there's no confusion. So much confusion these days, so much chaos going on in the name of so-called devotion to Prabhupada and Krishna and Lord Chaitanya. Without commitment to Guru Tattva, without commitment to Śrīla Prabhupada, your so-called sentimental attachment to Krishna consciousness is not going to get you very far. People that fault find, that criticize us, let them do it. And if they don't like it, go somewhere else. Just go somewhere else. Enjoy yourself on your own or with your particular little group or organization within or without ISKCON that you want to participate in. So we're going to go forward here. I'm going to Venkat Bhatta, and I want to thank Venkat Bhatta for being steady as a rock in assisting us in this production of these classes, Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, Bhagavad Gita, and Chaitanya Charitamrita. Very much appreciated, Prabhu, and thank you very much. I want everyone to appreciate his efforts on time to be here for these programs like ourselves, every 3 times a week, 4.5 hours a week. And that is totally appreciated. And he's in Bangalore, India. Fantastic. And we're going to go, I wanted him to show the front cover of the beginning. I sent it as the last slide, Prabhu. Thank you. So here, look at the wonderful book here, the beginning. And there's Prabhupada on the street by himself, the 1966 New York Journal of His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Śrīla Prabhupāda. So what a wonderful insight that we're getting by reading the journals every week, every three classes a week. And people that stay steady with this program, they will get the bliss that we're all experiencing by being in this transcendental association with others. People that are not sincere, they'll fault find, they'll criticize, they'll come, they'll go, they'll be up and down like a yo-yo. Sounds like a rap song. Okay, so we'll go to May highlights. Now we're going to read the summary. We're into May. Prabhupada, it appears that he's picking up the pace. And he's the book is divided into three. The first section is the books. He's distributing books. The Paragon Book Gallery man, Mr. Max, met. He reported that they are selling the books. So that's a bit encouraging. On the 7th, Mr. Bill has kept my office copy of Back to Godhead for reading. On the 11th, Paragon Hopeless. They cannot sell books. 2 sets of books taken by 2 gentlemen. They will pay by installment. One of them paid $5. On the 14th, a letter to booksellers Atmaram and Son. On the 20th of May, 1966, Mr. Raphael wanted to sell books. I have given him instructions. Let me see what he can do. On the 21st, one boy paid for the books, partly $6. And on the 28th, one boy paid $6 for the book. So not much there in terms of book distribution in the month of May. It will pick up, believe it. On the 2nd of May, here's Prabhupada. And remember, these classes and kirtans, a lot of them are recorded, so you can go online and you can listen to these classes and these kirtans that are recorded and become inspired by hearing directly from our Guru, Śrīla Prabhupāda. In the evening, there was a meeting. Only 5 gentlemen attended, including Paul. That's Paul Murray. Contribution was $5. Mr. Carl brought his tape recorder. Appearance gorgeous. Action was poor. Remember, Prabhupada had his tape recorder stolen at his last location. In the evening on the 4th, the meeting was nice. 7 gentlemen attended. Contribution received $6.75. Mr. Carl was very kind to me over the tape recorder, which is better than the one I have lost that was stolen. On the 6th in the evening, there was a meeting, and the contribution collected was $5. On the 7th, in the afternoon, there was a meeting again for teaching Sanskrit, and collection was $6.75. Tonight, Kirtan was very much appreciated by all in the Ananda Ashram, the Mayavadi group. On the 9th in the evening, there was a meeting. The attendance was large. 14 ladies and gentlemen attended, but the collection poor, only $5. And Prabhupada says here, never mind, it's growing. So he's starting to feel a little bit more encouraged. This is really going to take off. Remember that. In July, discuss with Carl about LSD. He is convinced about my arguments that there is no necessity for it for spiritual realization. 9 or 10 attended today's meeting, and the contribution was $8. On the 13th, there was a meeting in the evening. Attendance was poor, and the contribution was $4. On the 14th of May 1966, there was a meeting at noon in Sanskrit class. Contribution was $4. I went to Ananda Ashram. There was a kirtan in the evening. In the evening, there was a meeting. 10 ladies and gentlemen attended. The contribution was $7.55. On May 18th, 1966, in the evening, there was a meeting. 12 ladies and gentlemen attended. Contribution was $7. On the 20th, in the evening, there was a meeting, and although the attendance was with 10 men, the collection was only $4. On the 21st, in the afternoon, there was Sanskrit class. The attendance was 10, but the collection was only $4. At 5:30, we started for Ananda Ashram. In the evening, there was a kirtan at the ashram. On the 23rd, in the evening, there was the meeting. The contribution was $8. The attendance was about 11 ladies and a gentleman. 11 women, 1 man. On the 25th, in the evening, there was the meeting. The attendance was about 18 heads. The contribution was $11.75. People were not contributing. There were consultations about incorporation of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. On the 27th, in the evening, there was a meeting. About 15 persons, both ladies and gentlemen, attended. The contribution was only $8.70. And on May 28th, 1966, in the afternoon, there was a Sanskrit class, and about 10 persons attended. The collection was only $6. On the 30th, in the evening, there was a meeting. About 10 students attended, but the contribution was only $6.12. Miki brought his tempura, and it added to the tune of Sankirtan. Letters and contacts. So the final section here. Look at all the volume of activity Prabhupada's undertaking here. So you have to judge your own devotional service based on our spiritual masters' focus on spiritual life and preaching the message of Lord Chaitanya. On the 3rd, I delivered the keys of 72nd House to the secretary of the landlord, and also handed over to Dr. Mishra the keys of 501. So he's detaching himself from both these areas. Received one redirected letter from Vrindavan on the 5th. On the 9th, 2 letters received from Govinda Maharaj and one from Chokshi refusing Paul's free passage. Mr. Carl has taken a copy of Memorandum of Association, etc., for consultation. On the 10th, 2 letters received from Robert Nelson, who tried Harper Row for publications. 2 letters written to Vrindavan and Captain Pandya about coal, cartel, and harmonium. On the 11th, 1 letter received from Chandrasekhar, Discovery Branch of First City National Bank, to transfer from 72nd Branch. 2 letters posted through Paul. On the 12th of May, 1966, inquired about registration of the League of Devotees. Expenditure will be about $300. On the 14th, 4 letters posted to Chandrasekhar, Surya Kumar, Punjab National Bank, Vrindavan, and Atmarama and Sons, booksellers. On the 16th, received 1 letter from Mangla Niloy Brahmachari, very encouraging. I've replied and assured him to get him here, provided he works submissively. So he's qualifying people. Don't come if you're not prepared to cooperate with me. Very interesting. We have to qualify people. On the 18th, 1 letter received from Atma Singh, Bombay. On the 19th of May, 1966, 1 letter received Mr. Paul C. Sherbert, and he has replied also. On the 24th, 2 letters to Mr. Sherbert and the order to Cambridge University Press. On the 27th, I saw a good apartment in a lecture hall at 81 Park Road, Chatham Square. So he's still looking. He realizes it's temporary here at the Bowery with this LSD maniac, Paul Murray. On the 28th, a letter received from the controller of Exchange Delhi, An incident extraordinary at 12 night when I was typewriting Paul became too much irritated and I stopped typing. Some punk from New York City in the Bowery got agitated with our spiritual master. Terrible. Terrible. Carl came to dine with us. He is informed of last night's incident. Posted one letter to Shripad Tirtha Maharaj. That's a person from the Gaudiya Math, his godbrother. Mr. Goldsmith agreed to join the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. And on the 31st, registration to Indian Embassy, Mr. Nelson agreed to become member of the association and paid $20 for a month of June. Letter received from Punjab National Bank, Vrindavan. Look at the volume of work Prabhupada was doing by the month to spread this movement. So, following in his footsteps, we will try to increase our devotional service in this Namhanta program that we're promoting worldwide with our wonderful memberships here in the Prabhupada Disciples Association, Hare Krishna Society. All glories to the Sankirtan movement, and all glories to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, whose appearance day is tomorrow, according to the Mayapur calendar. We're going to move forward with the class given by His Grace Yashodanandana Prabhu, and first we'll have the bhajan chanted by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, founder Acharya of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. Hare Krishna Vijay Pandit.
Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Banachari Jamuna Tira Banachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Banachari Yamuna Tira Banachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Amasvat Paramahansa Parivrajagaracharya Sattva Smadhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada ki Jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnava ki Jai, Ramacharya Shri Haridas Thakur ki Jai, Prem se kaho Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktamani ki Jai, Shri Shri Radha Krishna Bhog Gopinath Sam Khand Radha Khand Giri Gojan ki Jai, Vrindavan Dham ki Jai, Navadvip Dham ki Jai, Ganga Mai ki Jai, Jamuna Mai ki Jai, Guru Dwarka Dham ki Jai, Swami Bhaktivinoda ki Jai. All glories to the Assemblage. All glories to the Assemblage. Thank you very much.
All glories to you, Śrīla Prabhupāda. All glories to you, Prabhupāda. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. O my Lord, Sri Krishna, the son of Vasudeva, the all-pervading personality of Godhead, I offer my respectful obeisances unto you from Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam 1:1:1. Nārayanam namaskritya Narayanam namaskritya Naram cheva narottamam Naram cheva narottamam Devim saraswatim vyasam Devim saraswatim vyasam Tato jayam mudirayat Tato jayam mudirayat. One should utter the means of conquest, Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, after offering respectful obeisances, 1, to the personality of Godhead Narayana, 2, to the Narayana Rishi, who is the supermost human being, 3, to the Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, then 4, to Śrīla Vyasadeva, the author, from Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam 1-4. Welcome everyone to this reading and discussion on Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. As we do every week, we will read a few selected verses from the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam from the first canto, 2nd chapter, which explains the benefit of hearing this great transcendental literature. Śrīmbatam svakata Krishna punya shravana kirtana hridyanta stohya badrani vidunoti suritsatam. Sri Krishna, the personality of Godhead, who is also the Paramatma in everyone's heart and the benefactor of the truthful devotee, thus cleanse the desire for material enjoyment in the heart of the devotee who has developed the urge for hearing his, Krishna's messages, which are themselves virtuous when properly heard and chanted. Text number 18. Nashtaprayeshu vabhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavati uttama shloke bhaktir bhavati naishtiki. By regular attendance in the Bhagavatam class, or rendering service unto the pure devotees, all that is inauspicious in the heart of a candidate becomes destroyed almost to nil. And thus, loving service unto the personality of Godhead, who is praised with transcendental songs, comes into being in irrevocable fact. Text 19. Tadarajastamo bhava kamalobhadayaschaye cheta eterana viddam stitam sattve prasidati. As soon as irrevocable loving service is fixed up in one's heart, at that time the effects of the nature's mode of passion and ignorance, such as lust, desire, and hankerings, etc., do disappear from one's heart, and he becomes fixed up in a mode of goodness, which makes him completely happy. Text 20. Evam prasanna manaso bhagavad bhakti yogataha bhagavat tattva vijnanam mukta sangasya jayate. Thus, when one is positively fixed up in a mode of unalloyed goodness, the enlivened-minded man affected by contact of devotional service of the Lord can positively know scientific knowledge of the personality of Godhead in the stage of liberation from all material association. Again, thanks everybody for joining us for this Sunday morning discussion on the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. As we do every week, we will read 2 selected verses from a little booklet called the Gaudiya Canto, chapter 22. This was compiled by Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, and this is describing the glories. This chapter describes the glories and the meaning of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. This is from text. This is from Chaitanya Bhagavata Antya-lila 3.506, chapter 2, text 19. Adi madhyante bhagavate koi Vishnu bhakti nitya siddha akshaya vyayoy Bhagavata shastra se bhaktir tattva kahe Teni bhagavata samakona shastra naye Yena rupa matsya kurmadi avatar Avirbhavati robhava panehoy Ishwarera tattva yena bhujane nayay Emata bhagavata sarva shasti gai Premamaya bhagavata krishnera shri anga Tahate kohena yata gopya krishniranga Hena bhagavata kona dushkriti padiya Nityananda ninda kare tatvana janiya. These are descriptions cited from Chaitanya Bhagavata Antya Kanda, chapter 3, text 509 to 511, text 513, and text 516 and 534. Meaning, in the beginning, middle, and end, the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam speaks only of devotional service to Krishna. As such, this literature is eternally perfect, infallible, and infinite, because it contains all truths pertaining to the infinite. Since the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam speaks exclusively of the truths of devotional service, it is unparalleled amongst the Shastras. No other scripture can compare with Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. In the same way that the avatars of Krishna, beginning with Matsya and Kurma, appear and disappear transcendentally, the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam is not of mundane origin. It appears and disappears of its own accord. In the same way, that truth about God himself is inconceivable. The Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam is beyond all material understanding. The Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam is full of Krishna prema. It is a part of Krishna himself, for it describes Krishna's confidential pastimes. Whoever offends the lotus feet of Lord Nityananda is a great sinner. Despite his deep study and scholarship, such a person will never understand the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. We will proceed with our reading. It should be noted that this particular reading is based upon the original 1962 edition of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, the New Delhi edition. All synonyms, translations, and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, founder Acharya of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, also known as the Krishna Consciousness Movement. Text number 31. I'll repeat the first line, and you may repeat afterward. Tasya evam kilamatmanam. Tasya evam kilamatmanam. Manva manasya khidyataha. Manva manasya khidyataha. Krishnasya naradubhyagad. Krishnasya naradubhyagad. Ashramam pragudhritam. Ashramam pragudhritam. Tasya, his, evam, thus, kilam, inferior, atmanam, soul, mana manvaya, syam, thinking within the mind, khidyataha, regretting, naradobhyagad, Nārada came there, ashramam, the cottage, prag, before, udaritaha, said. Translation by Śrīla Prabhupāda. Nārada reached the cottage of Krishna Dvaipayana on the bank of Saraswati, has said before, while Vyasadeva was regretting, thus on the point of inferiority of his personal self. Purport. The vacuum felt by Vyasadeva was not due to his lack of knowledge. Bhagavad Dharma is purely devotional service of the Lord, in which the monist has no access. The monist is not counted amongst the Paramahamsa, the most perfect of the renounced order of life. Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam is full of narration of the transcendental activities of the personality of Godhead. Although Vyasadeva was empowered divinity, still he felt inferior complex because in none of his works the transcendental activities of the Lord was properly explained. The inspiration was infused by Sri Krishna directly in the art of Vyasadeva, and thus he felt vacuum as above explained. It is definitely expressed herewith that without transcendental loving service of the Lord, everything is void. But in the transcendental service of the Lord, everything is tangible without any separate attempt for truthful work or empiric philosophical speculation. Text number 32. Tanabhijñāya sahasa. Tanabhijñāya sahasa. Pratyutvaya gatam munihi. Pratyutvaya gatam munihi. Pujayamasa vidivat. Pujayamasa vidivat. Nāradam surapujitam. Nāradam surapujitam. Tamabhijñāya. Seeing the auspicity of his, Nārada's arrival. Sahasa, all of a sudden. Pratyuttaya, getting up, agatam, arrive, at, munihi, Vyasadeva, pujayamasa, worshipped, vidivat, with the same respect as it is offered to Vidi, Brahma. Translation. Thus, on the auspicious arrival of Sri Nārada, Sri Vyasadeva got up in respect and worshipped him with equal veneration, as is offered to Brahmaji, the creator. Purport. Vidi means Brahma, the first created living being, is the original student as well as professor of the Vedas, as he learnt it from Sri Krishna and taught Nārada first. So Nārada is the second acharya in the line of spiritual disciplic succession. He is representative of Brahma, and therefore he is respected exactly like Brahma, the father of all Vedis, regulation. Similarly, all other successive disciples in the chain are also equally respected as representative of the original spiritual master. Thus end the Bhaktivedanta purports of the first canto, fourth chapter of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, in the matter of appearance of Sri Nārada. Om Ajnanatimmirandasya Jnananjana Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Śrīmate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shwanyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Bhakti Siddhanta Shishyaya Bhaktivedanta Namine Prasannaya Prashantaya Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Bhagavad Vandanam Khadyam Guru Vandana Purvakam Kshiram Sharkara Yuktam Kadatihi Visheshataham Adadhanastrinam Danter Idam Yachi Punaha Punaha Śrīmad-Rūpa-padam Bhoja Dhulishyam Janma Janmani Amsho Bhagavatusmyaham Sadadasu Asmi Sarvata Tat Kripa Pikshako Nityam Tat Preshta Shat Karomi Svam Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrindam Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Very interesting segment of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. It's very important to remember ourselves, to remind ourselves of the chronological sequence of what happened here. We do know from the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam itself, where Prabhupada is described, how Vyasadeva compiled the Mahabharata. First, he divided the Vedas from one Veda into 4 Vedas at the beginning of the Kali Yuga. Then he compiled the Puranas, and then he compiled the Mahabharata. In the Mahabharata, it's a very long literature of 100,000 verses. Although it is a very lengthy literature, he was not satisfied. He was not happy. And this is described here, that just at that point, on text number 31, it is described, Tasya evam kiramatmanam manva manasya kidyataha Krishnasya naradobhyagat ashraman pragudiritam. It is described that Nārada reached the cottage of Krishna Dvaipayana on the bank of the Saraswati, as said before, while Vyasadeva was regretting thus on the point of inferiority of his personal self. And Prabhupada gives a very nice explanation here. He says, the vacuum felt by Vyasadeva was not due to his lack of knowledge. Bhagavad Dharma is purely devotional service of the Lord, in which the monist has no access. Further on, Prabhupada says, although Vyasadeva was empowered divinity, still he felt inferior complex because in none of his works the transcendental activities of the Lord was properly explained. The inspiration was infused by Sri Krishna directly in the heart of Vyasadeva, and thus he felt vacuum as above explained. It is definitely expressed herewith that without transcendental loving service of the Lord, everything is void. But in the transcendental service of the Lord, everything is tangible without any separate attempt for fruitive work or empiric philosophical speculation. Now, this is very important because there are some class of philosophers who think that the Mahabharata is more important than the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. But if we look at the sequence of compilation of this great literature, the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, or also called the Bhagavata Purana, this was done after the Mahabharata had been compiled. So the Mahabharata had been written, 100,000 verses, but still he was not happy. Still he was not satisfied. And it just so happened that at that time, Nārada Muni came by, his spiritual master. I'm going to read here, maybe Venkat can locate this. This is from the original Sri Ishopanishad, the introduction. I'm going to read a few paragraphs where it explains exactly what are the Vedas and what is the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. This is from the introduction on page number 3. Prabhupada explains, the Vedas are not compilations of human knowledge. Vedic knowledge comes from the spiritual world, from Lord Krishna. Another name for the Vedas is Shruti. Shruti refers to that knowledge which is acquired by hearing. It is not experimental knowledge. Shruti is considered to be like a mother. We take so much knowledge from our mother. For example, if you want to know who your father is, who can answer you? Your mother. If the mother says, here's your father, you have to accept it. It is not possible to experiment to find out whether he is your father. Similarly, if you want to know something beyond your experience, beyond your experimental knowledge, beyond the activities of the senses, then you have to accept Vedas. There is no question of experimenting. It has already been experimented. It is already settled. The version of the mother, for instance, has to be accepted as truth. There is no other way. And if we fast forward here to page, I believe, number 7, Prabhupada explains what we're discussing in this text of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. Originally, there was only one Veda, and there was no necessity of reading it. People were so intelligent and had such sharp memories that by once hearing from the lips of the spiritual master, they would understand. They would immediately grasp the whole purport. But 5,000 years ago, Vyasadeva put the Vedas in writing for the people in this age, Kali Yuga. He knew that eventually the people would be short-lived, their memories would be very poor, and their intelligence would not be very sharp. Therefore, let me teach this Vedic knowledge in writing. He divided the Vedas into 4, Rik, Sama, Atharva, and Yajus. Then he gave the charge of these Vedas to his different disciples. He then thought of the less intelligent class of men, Sri Shudra and Dvija Bandhu. He considered the women class and Shudra class, worker class, and Dvija Bandhu. Dvija Bandhu refers to those who are born in a high family, but who are not properly qualified. A man born in the family of a Brahmana, who is not qualified as a Brahmana, is called Dvija Bandhu. For these persons, he compiled Mahabharata, called the History of India, and the 18 Puranas. These are all Vedic literatures. The Puranas, the Mahabharata, the 4 Vedas, and the Upanishads. The Upanishads are part of the Vedas. Then Vyasadeva summarized all Vedic knowledge for scholars and philosophers in what is called the Vedanta Sutra. That is the last word of the Vedas. Vyasadeva personally wrote Vedanta Sutra under the instruction of Nārada, his guru, Maharaj, spiritual master. But still, he was not satisfied. That is a long story described in the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. Vedavyasa was not very satisfied even after compiling many Puranas, Upanishads, and even after Vedanta Sutra. Then his spiritual master Nārada instructed him, you explain Vedanta. Vedanta means ultimate knowledge, and the ultimate knowledge is Krishna. Krishna said that throughout of all the Vedas, one has to understand Krishna. Vedanta Krit Vedavid Evachaham. Krishna says, I am the compiler of Vedanta, and I am the knower of the Vedas. Therefore, the ultimate objective is Krishna. That is explained in all the Vaishnava commentaries on Vedanta philosophy. We, Gaudiya Vaishnavas, have our commentary on Vedanta philosophy called Govinda Bhashya by Baladeva Vidyabhushana. Similarly, Ramanujacharya has a commentary and Madhvacharya has one. Śrīla Prabhupāda goes on describing the importance of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. So this is a very good summary by Śrīla Prabhupāda of the history, the chronological history of how we have arrived at the compilation of this great literature, Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. We do know in the 2nd canto of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, there is a section called the Chatushloki Bhagavata, or the essence of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam described in 4 essential verses. That is part of the 2nd canto of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. And we also know that in the beginning of creation, Lord Brahma taught the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam to the 4 Kumaras, some of his sons. So the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam at different times was spoken. For example, now we will be discussing in this next chapter how the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam came about. It has been described that Vyasadeva heard the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam originally from his spiritual master Nārada Muni. But in the sequence here, we do know, we've just heard that the Mahabharata and all the other Puranas, the Vedas, had already been compiled, but still he was not happy. Still, he was dissatisfied. And the description is, the reason is, because there's insufficient description of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, and his activities. So this is very important. Another point which needs to be addressed, there's a class of Advaitavadis or Mayavadis who claim that the literatures such as Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, the Puranas, Itihasas, Mahabharata, etc., that these are inferior literatures to the Vedas. Now, we don't consider that acceptable, because in the Vedas itself, in the Chandogya Upanishad, it is described that the Itihasas, namely the Mahabharata and the Ramayana, the Puranas, they're called the Panchamo Veda, the fifth Veda. This is also described in considerable detail by Jiva Goswami Prabhupada in his Tattva Sandarbha, where he explains that in higher planets, the Puranas have billions of verses. But on this planet, it is limited because of the situation with the human beings. So we know that Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, this will be a very interesting description that we will start next week, called Sri Narada's Instructions on Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam for Vyasadeva, because the Vedas are considered aparusheya, not created by any human being. We just read on page number 3 of the Ishopanishad instruction, Prabhupada has described the Vedas are not compilations of human knowledge. Vedic knowledge comes from the spiritual world, from Lord Krishna. Another name for the Vedas is called Shruti. Shruti refers to that knowledge which is acquired by hearing. It's quite significant that prior to 5,000 years ago, they did not write things down. They were so intelligent, their memory was so powerful, just that by hearing it once, they would remember immediately. That's how the Vedas were passed. Vedic knowledge is passed. It's called Shruti, by hearing. And the other body of Vedic literature is called Smriti, which is remembered. It is compiled. Although it is compiled by great sages, great powerful mystics, great powerful liberated souls, it is still considered non-different than the Vedas, because it's the same purpose. We see in the 15th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, as Prabhupada just quoted, Vedanta Krit Vedavid Vedais Chaham, that I am the compiler of Vedanta. I am the goal of studying the Vedas. The purpose of studying the Vedas is to know Krishna. That is the purpose. There is no other purpose. It is not meant for endless speculation, endless grammatical wrangling. No, that is not the idea. We see that the foremost of the Mayavadis, Adi Shankaracharya, sung Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam Mudhamate, Samprapte Sanite Kale Naina Hiraksati Dukrin Karane. That simply worship Govinda. He stresses this 3 times. Prabhupada has explained, when you want to emphasize something, you stress it 3 times. So Adi Shankaracharya says, you worship Govinda. Do not waste time, you muda, you foolish person, simply with Sanskrit grammatical combinations. That will not help you at the time of death. It is well known that Shankaracharya has compiled various hymns in glorification of Narasimha, Lord Jagannath, Yamunashtaka, Jagannathastaka, so many wonderful prayers. He also wrote a commentary on the Vishnu Sahasranam, although he spoke of impersonal philosophy. Many Vaishnavas consider him, he was a Vaishnava in disguise, but he played a specific role to advance the Kali Yuga with his Advaita Mayavad philosophy. But the real purpose of the Vedic literature is explained by all the Vaishnavacharyas. Ramanujacharya, Madhvacharya, Jayatirtha, Vyasatirtha, Raghavendra Swami, Vallabhacharya, Nimbarkacharya, and our Sampradaya, the Gaudiya Sampradaya, we have Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the six Goswamis, and Baladevi Vidyabhushana, who compiled the Govinda Bhashya. Govinda Bhashya came about because the Gaudiya Sampradaya had been challenged before the king of Jaipur, why you are worshipping Krishna before Narayana. And they challenged them that you're not a bona fide Sampradaya if you do not have your own commentary on Vedanta Sutra. So do you accept Madhva's commentary or do you have your own commentary? So Balavidibhushana took up the task of compiling a commentary on Vedanta Sutra within a few weeks. Usually this is done over several years. It is very complex philosophical study and debate. He sat in front of Govinda, the deity of Rupa Goswami in Jaipur, and it was revealed, the Bhashya of Vedanta Sutra was revealed to him directly by Lord Govinda. That's why it's called Govinda Bhashya, the commentary of Lord Govinda. So this is a very special event in the history of Gaudiya Vaishnavism. We see that Śrīla Prabhupāda in his Bhagavad Gita has dedicated his Bhagavad Gita purport to Baladevi Vidyabhushana, who very nicely compiled the Govinda Bhashya. But the point is, all these Vaishnavacharyas have explained the real meaning of a Vedanta Sutra, not the word jugglery and nonsense of the Mayavadis, which is why Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself, we see in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is giving his verdict. Mayavadi Bhashya Shunali Oi Sarvanash. That if you hear the commentaries of the Mayavadi, all spiritual life finished. Spiritual understanding all finished. And another place it is described, Mayavadi Oi Krishna Aparadi, that the Mayavadis are offenders, blasphemers against Lord Krishna. That's why we never accept foodstuff from Mayavadis. We see in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Rupa Goswami has given one prohibition that one should not wear this tripundra. They wear these ashes on their forehead. We don't do that, never. One should never accept foodstuff from the Mayavadis, never wear their so-called tilak. Of course, it is a class of Vedic followers, but their conclusions are misunderstanding. They have misunderstanding of the purpose of the Vedas. This is very nicely explained by all the great acharyas, especially in the Brahma Madhva Gaudiya Sampradaya. There's a very long history of these powerful acharyas repeatedly defeating the arguments of the Mayavadis, and we can discuss this in further detail at some other time. Thanks, everybody. Let's have some discussion. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Yashodanandana Prabhu, for that excellent lecture on this topic. And further, I thought that the verse at the beginning of the class was very enlightening, that the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam is beyond material understanding. Why? Because one has to become educated how to become a devotee of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. This is a critical qualification for Krishna consciousness. And without being qualified, one cannot have this proper understanding of Krishna and Krishna's representatives in the line of disciplic succession. It is only by becoming a devotee one can understand these subject matters. And devotee means someone who is practicing Krishna consciousness without any false ego. This false ego position is common with people in this modern society that we live in. The I, me, and mine society that has been created due to materialism and material degradation. And Prabhupada came from India specifically to teach us how to become first-class human beings. Prabhupada would tell us that this world is not a pleasant place for the devotee, because the devotee lives on the spiritual platform, not in the material world. So the question is, what do? We have to rise up from our material condition and become fixed on the transcendental platform of service. This is the qualification. Because Krishna is not a cheap thing. Krishna consciousness is not frivolous, like some people, very frivolous, whimsical. Prabhupada uses that term, whimsical behavior. And this we've seen goes on in the name of so-called spiritual life. I was noting Yashodanandana that the devotees never consider themselves satisfied with their service. What's the reason? Because they understand the glories of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, how great He is, which is far, far beyond our puny little minds. All this mental speculation, all this mental concoction that goes on in the mind, covered by the cloud of illusion of Maya, keeps us entangled in repeated birth and death in this world. So many people think, oh, I'm so qualified. I wear the garb of a devotee. I put on the tilak. I wear the japa mala or the kanti mala. Like that. They have the external attributes of a devotee, but internally, are they satisfied? Are they Krishna conscious by their behavior, how they deal with others, how they handle themselves in this world as a Vaishnava, following in the footsteps of our Guru, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada? That is for Krishna to see. But one will not get realization, internal understanding of this philosophy by being a show-bottled devotee. This show-bottled business goes on everywhere. Everyone is trying to become more than they really are. We are simply insignificant living entities in this universe. False ego tells us we're not, especially if you get money. Hey, Dharma Bhavana, people that have money, they start to become self-engrossed in their own so-called temporary material success, in their temporary material fame, in their temporary material existence. I was talking to a friend of mine here in Hamilton this morning. It's not a devotee. I was mentioning to him, yeah, life comes and goes just like the turning off, on and off of a light switch. Oh, people are so enamored by who they are. But how long are you here for in this one body? You know, time is based on the body that you possess. So the living entities have different time frames in which they can operate or exist. In our particular situation, we live for 60, 70, 80 years. Other living beings, they may only live for a few minutes, a few seconds. I was in Mexico, Yashodanandana Prabhu, and at my friend Paul's Casa Goloka, were all these ants, miniature ants, swarming around. How long do you think their lifespan is? And every living entity has a soul. That's how life goes on in this material world. So we have to be very thankful, everyone, for this opportunity that we have in this group to be Prabhupada disciples in the service of our Guru, our spiritual master, because this will liberate us and this will qualify us. It's not just whimsical. It's succinct. It's precise. Just for example, you have a surgeon in the hospital. As all of you know, I had the cancer surgery. And I was cured by the expert surgeon here, Masumoto. Now, he is recognized as a foremost doctor in the field of urinary bladder cancer. Now, how did he get to that position? Well, he had to attend all these courses and programs within the university structure. He had to pass the exam successfully. So much arduous work to qualify him to enter into the surgical field and then ultimately to rise up to the head of his department and become a surgeon of expertise in that field. So similarly, as devotees, we have to realize that this is not something that can be approached without strict focus to this process. This is the key to success in Krishna consciousness. Total surrender. For example, one must always chant their rounds. We're all dedicated to that. One must control their senses, follow the four regulative principles. One has to distribute prasadam, cook for himself and distribute it to others. And one has to propagate the message of Lord Chaitanya. Like all of you are leaders of in your own communities. We know that. And we appreciate your efforts in propagating Krishna consciousness according to Prabhupada's teachings as Prabhupada disciples, that Prabhupada is the bona fide spiritual master. This will please Lord Chaitanya. This will please Śrīla Prabhupāda. And we should work cooperatively together. Not be fault finders, not be critical, not be envious of each other, but be thankful that we have this association, that we have this opportunity as a group to spread the Krishna consciousness movement. And this will qualify us to understand Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. This will qualify us. Jnanam vijnanam. We can have material knowledge, but if we don't practice it, we will not get the realization from within the heart that is possible. I, dwelling within the heart, Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, destroy with the shining lamp of knowledge the darkness born of ignorance. So we have so many nice devotees on the program today. Dharma Bhavana, I'm going to call upon him, and Janas Priya. Yashodanandana Prabhu, could you further explain?
Tomorrow will be the appearance day of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and I just thought to read a few nectarian passages about, this is again from the Gaudiya Canto R, the literature that was compiled by His Divine Grace, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. In the 4th chapter, it is called the Gauranga Tattva, Gaura Tattva, the evidence in Shruti in connection with Śrīmad Mahaprabhu. This is from the Shvetashvatara Upanishad. Mahan Prabhur Vaipurushaha Sattvasyesha Pravartakaha Sunirmalamimam Shantir Ishano Jyotirabhyayam. This is also quoted by Śrīla Prabhupāda in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. The personality of Godhead, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, is brilliantly effulgent like molten gold, and is imperishable. He is the supreme controller. He controls the mode of goodness, and through the performance of Samkirtan, he bestows upon the living beings the spiritual intelligence by which they can understand devotional service. In his Acharya Leela as a sannyasi, he is the source of spiritual purity and of liberation. He is therefore known as Mahaprabhu. Then we have from the Mundaka Upanishad 3:3. Yada pasyam pasyati rukma varnam kartaramisham purusham brahma yonim tadavidyan punyapapi vidhuya niranjanam pramam samyamupeti. When one realizes the golden form of that Lord, Sri Gauranga, who is the ultimate actor and the source of the supreme Brahman, he attains the highest knowledge, transcends both pious and impious activities, becomes free from worldly bondage, and gains entrance into the divine abode of the Lord. There's also a very interesting compilation. This was done by Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. These are 12 names of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu called the Sri Krishna Chaitanya Dwadasa Nama Stotra. It is described Chaitanya Krishna Chaitanya Ghorango Dvijanayakaha Yatinam Dandinam Cheva Nyasinam Chashiromanihi. The 12 principal names of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu are Chaitanya, the living force, Krishna Chaitanya, the all-attractive supreme living force, Gauranga, one who has a fair bodily complexion, Dvijanayakaha, the hero amongst the twice-born Brahmanas, Yatinam Shiromani, the crest jewel of sannyasis, Dandinam Shiromani, the crest jewel of sannyasis, Nyasinam Shiromanihi, the crest jewel of those who renounce everything. Second verse, Raktam Baradara Shriman, Navadvipa Shudakaraha, Prema Bhakti Pradascheva, Sri Sachinandanastata. Raktam Baradara, one who wears red cloth. Shriman, one who is the supreme opulent one. Navadvipa Shudakara, the source of nectar in Navadvip. Prema Bhakti Prada, the bestower of ecstatic, loving devotion. Sri Sachinandana, the delightful son of Mother Sachi. Then Dvadasetani Namani, Trisandam Yapaten Naraha, Tasya Vancha Susirisyat, Bhaktihi Śrīla Padambuje. That person who recites these 12 holy names of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu 3 times a day at dawn, noon, and dusk will achieve the perfection of all their best desires and will attain pure devotion unto the divine lotus feet of Lord Chaitanya. Again, this was compiled by Sri Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya after his conversion as a follower and disciple of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. No sound.
Hare Krishna.
All glories to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. All glories to the Sankirtan mission of Lord Chaitanya. All glories to the Prabhupada disciples who are members of this association, thank you very much. Dharma Bhavana in Dallas, Texas, please, if you could make further comments or questions, whatever you'd like.
Oh, Hare Krishna. Yeah, thank you. Yeah. Today and yesterday we had very interesting classes about the authority of the Vedas. And whenever we speak about Krishna, Brahma, Nārada, and all of Narada's activities, it's so glorious. And from the authority of this Vedic knowledge, we can remain devotees month after month and year after year with great faith. And an interesting thing happened about 10 years ago. One of our friends in Florida wanted to take up an in-depth investigation into the changes in Prabhupada's books. There's so many articles pro and so many articles con. And so this lady, she wanted to spend 70 hours almost in a row intensely trying to understand what happened and why it happened and what kind of opinion she would have. Mm-hmm. So after 70 hours, she determined that the book changes were not necessary and maybe very offensive also, just unnecessary and offensive. And she made a comment about the term Blessed Lord. We understand how Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam may be translated technically as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but she was saying how in Bhagavad Gita, the Blessed Lord was such a good term to her that she could actually understand what it means, coming from a kind of an American background. And sometimes Prabhupada chose different terms and words. We may not understand why, but he kind of felt like people could understand it, or Krishna inspired him in the heart for every word he put forward. So the Blessed Lord became a very endearing term because it was easy to understand for somebody who's just beginning to study Bhagavad Gita and to try to understand who is speaking and what the meaning behind it is. So I thought this was a very interesting determination on this devotee's part, because 70 hours is a long time and almost in a row. Great determination to understand what the book changes was and what it means to us. And so therefore she gave this opinion that it was something that should not have been undertaken. That's all. Thank you, Haribol.
Excellent. Paranjana in California, maybe you could make a few comments on today's discussion. Hare Krishna. Tim Lee, Paranjana.
Haribol.
Yes, Prabhu, we can hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so someone sent me an interesting new phenomena going on in ISKCON, where they're giving therapy to devotees who have had traumatic experiences in ISKCON. Wanted me to analyze that. So I listened to just 15 minutes of Ram Baru's presentation on all that, and she's talking about how a lot of devotees are feeling self-loathing, and a lot of them are suffering from depression, and so on and so forth. So my immediate analysis was these things are all the symptoms of the modes of ignorance. People are crying, people are depressed, people are feeling self-loathing. What is self-loathing? So I said, actually, originally, self-loathing came from us becoming envious of Krishna. We were loathing Krishna, actually, and that transformed or transferred onto us. And we, if you hate Krishna, you'll hate yourself. So I said, what's happening here is that people aren't understanding the basic principles of the philosophy. If people are not liking themselves, it means they're still not liking Krishna. That's the root of their problem. And they haven't realized that yet. So if they're not realizing that, that means this kind of way off the mark from the original concept of the Krishna religion. You are part and parcel of Krishna. Therefore, there's no reason to be lamenting and feeling self-loathing and being depressed. If all that is happening, that means the process is not being applied properly. So they're not being trained in the actual system, because Krishna consciousness is joyously performed. if it's performed properly. So if there's a lot of depressed people, and someone else wrote to me, this was a while ago, when Prabhupada Vishnu fell down, everybody was crying and lamenting. And I said, oh my goodness, well, there you go. That's the modes of ignorance, crying and lamenting, hankering and lamenting. So if you're in the modes of ignorance, you're not even yet in the modes of passion or goodness, never mind, you're not in transcendence. So I think it's important for people to understand what is wrong with ISKCON. It is not preaching the basic principle. You're part of Krishna, and that would give you all sorts of encouragement and enlivenment and enthusiasm if it was applied, actually. But if you're depressed, or if you're in a society where there's depressed people, you're in a society that is not following Krishna's teachings properly. So I just thought I would throw that in today.
Okay, thank you. You know, the fact of the matter is that we are, and a lot of people that contact us are expressing their great appreciation of these programs and the ecstasy that they feel when they hear the truth being spoken and explained clearly without personal motivation. And this is the wonderful part of the Hare Krishna Society Prabhupada disciples' efforts to revitalize the philosophical direction that Śrīla Prabhupāda gave us when he came originally to America and presented it to his new disciples. And now our new disciples that are with us, the new Prabhupada disciples that are eager to learn this philosophy without any changes to it. So this is ecstasy, everyone. We're hoping in the future we'll be able to have festivals and opportunities to chant Hare Krishna in Kirtan together. Just like I was in Mexico, I had a chance to chant Kirtan with other devotees. It was very ecstatic. Of course, Toronto was famous for its Kirtans, and all of us coming together to chant and to listen to the philosophy and take prasadam will be a great source of bliss for all of us. Nilesh Dalal Shama in Miami, Florida.
Hare Krishna.
Haribo, he's in his car. I know it. He's on the go.
Yes.
Haribo.
Hare,
Yes,
Hare
your
Krishna,
comments. Haribo,
Yes,
please,
Prabhuji.
Prabhu.
Just so that you know that according to the ISKCON Bangalore India Heritage Foundation, New Jersey, the Gaur Purnima is being celebrated today. So on the occasion of Gaur Purnima, everybody wants to glorify their gurus. And I came across one such circular from ISKCON, which says that, oh, please help your guru to distribute Bhagavad Gita on your behalf. And then they gave a quote, is that for one Gita, maybe I don't remember the exact dollar figure, let's say $10. And if you want to do one case, it'll be $200 and, whatever. So you can donate it to your Guru Maharaj, who in turn will distribute books on your behalf. Now, where does Prabhupada tell us that, you pay me and I'll distribute books on your behalf? He has always told us directly, you distribute the books as much as you can profusely, which will make me happy. So if we feel that we are indebted in any kind of way to Śrīla Prabhupada, and if we want to repay this indebtedness, which we'll never be able to, but even if we try to do a little bit, is to distribute his books as much as we can on our own personal basis, and thereby it will not only help please Śrīla Prabhupada, it will help us also because we are trying to distribute Krishna's literature, and it is endearing to Krishna also, as he says in chapter 18 of the Bhagavad Gita. And also it purifies us at the same time. So not only does it help please Śrīla Prabhupada, it helps us also in our path back home, back to Godhead. So what I'd like to know from you and Yashodanandan Prabhu, this practice of donating to your Guru Maharaj on Gaur Purnim Day, who will distribute Bhagavad Gita on your behalf. And whether they do it or not, who knows?
Yes. Well, there's a couple of comments, and I'll make quickly, and I'll have Yashoda speak. One thing is they're distributing the yellow Gitas, which are edited. So this is not something that we do or the disciples of Śrīla Prabhupāda do. Number two is this particular methodology to collect money by them is part of the guru business. So we really don't know, for example, what the cost, say the cost of a case of Gitas is, I think $75 approximately of these yellow Gitas. So they're making $125 profit for their own personal goals and ambitions as individual leaders of their guru cults. So this is some kind of business that they're in. And it's interesting to note, just quickly, Yashoda, in the other group that was mentioned here, how many books have they sold, Nilesh Shama? And how many devotees live in the temples in America? After selling hundreds of millions of books, so how many devotees exist in the temples? Well, I can tell you, they're bringing people from India to try to take up the roles of pujari. They're offering salaries of $50,000 and $60,000 a year for people to be temple presidents. And the result, there is some kind of lack of understanding how to make devotees here in the Western world. We're very fortunate. We have lots of devotee Prabhupada disciples with us. We have a good group. Could be bigger, but everything comes in time. But the question is, why is it that these temples are empty? Oh, not all completely, but almost. When you look back when Prabhupada was here, the temples were filled, they were expanding. The festivals were ecstatic. Now the movement has become Hinduized. That's the preaching. It is the guru business. Yashodanandana Prabhu.
Well, this is a very important point because we experienced during the manifested presence of Śrīla Prabhupada, for lack of a better term, that there were plenty of devotees in the temples. Many devotees were coming. And Śrīla Prabhupada, before he departed, made a statement, if you cannot expand, at least maintain what I've given you. They could not even do that. I had a personal experience in Toronto in the late 1980s of a discussion with a godbrother who was acting in a position of a guru, who was trying to tell me, well, we have to see the power and the position of these new gurus by how many Vaishnavas they've made. I said, that's a very interesting point. I says, we also have to remember that Śrīla Prabhupada made 5,000 disciples. This conversation took place in a lobby of the Toronto ISKCON temple. I said, yeah. Prabhupada made 5,000 disciples. And he placed these disciples under your management, under the GBC, under the management of the leaders of the institution. Where are these disciples? What happened to these disciples? You're telling me that there's these thousands of disciples, but when I come to these temples, most of the time it's empty. We see many Indian visitors, Hindu visitors who come to give a little donation, do a little pranam, which is very nice. We don't criticize our Indian friends. But the point is, what have you done with those disciples that Śrīla Prabhupada put under your care? This is the question. You're talking about new people, which we can't seem to find. And then the old people that were there during Prabhupada's manifested presence, they're nowhere to be found. So there's something wrong with that picture. If they have distributed millions and dozens of millions of books, and the result is that no one is there because of false ego. Everybody is thinking, this is mine, this is yours, this is my temple, this is your temple, this is my farm, this is your farm, this is my money. This was perfectly summarized by a statement from a former guru in London, England. He says, it's my money, it's my disciple, it's my temple, and I can do whatever I want with it. Talk about Maya on steroids. This is materialistic nonsense. This is not the devotional mentality of somebody who is aspiring to develop love of Krishna, love of God. This is materialistic nonsense. And people should be aware of what they're dealing with. We've often discussed in these classes that Śrīla Prabhupāda, excuse me, discussed with Shama Sundar about Mao Zedong and communism. And Prabhupada's verdict was that my proposition, if anything that's imperfect, will fail, regardless of how much propaganda you make. And the whole fundamental problem with what we're facing is propaganda on the basis of a falsehood. This bogus nonsense idea that Śrīla Prabhupada allegedly appointed these successors, these so-called successors initiating guru. That is complete nonsense, which no one has been able to prove in 46 years. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Yes, it's certainly chaotic in the material world, especially after the departure of the pure devotee, as Śrīla Prabhupada revealed to us. Jonas Priya in Hawaii, maybe you could comment further if you're by your microphone. Jonas Priya, my friend, our god brother, who's
Hare
residing
Krishna.
in Hawaii.
All glories to Śrīla Prabhupada.
Yes, Prabhu.
Yes, very, very nice points we've been discussing. And Prabhupada gave us a very, very simple process on what does it mean to be a Prabhupada disciple. Well, for starters, disciple means discipline. So we have to be disciplined, and we have to chant our rounds, read Prabhupada's books, follow the instructions of Guru. And Lord Chaitanya said, whoever you meet, tell him about Krishna. So this is the basic philosophy. And to be able to do that, we have to understand that how do we go about this? So Prabhupada gave us every little detail, just approaching the spiritual master submissively and rendering service to Guru. So we do this, then the Guru is pleased with us, and the Guru from within will instruct us on how to preach. It's not we don't have to be very learned. We simply have to be humble and sincere. And if we're enthusiastic, then we could carry on. And as we preach, it's so nice when we're preaching and you find that one person, and whatever you say, they go, yeah, yeah. And you get so excited, you know? And actually, when we're preaching to people, we're preaching to ourselves. So this is very, very beautiful that Prabhupada gave us a very, very simple process. And we simply follow, and we don't concoct new systems, new tunes, new dances, new scriptures that being updated to this day and age to be politically correct. We don't follow that. We follow what Prabhupada gave us. We're old school, and we know that we all became devotees with the books, with the original books as they were written. We didn't have any quarrel with Prabhupada's books. Never. I never remember meeting a devotee where we're reading scripture and going, oh, this is not proper. No, we're totally satisfied because Prabhupada didn't write those books. He pushed the pen. He said, I'm the pen pusher. Krishna is right there dictating. So how could they dare to change Krishna's words? These are not Prabhupada's words. So we're very lucky that we have this very nice little tight group of devotees here, and we could come and hear these nice topics and get enthusiastic and try to pass this knowledge to whoever we can in whatever capacity we have, and that's the perfection of our life. Hare Krishna.
Well, thank you very much. And I want to thank Ram Singh in Sacramento, Krishna Kishore in Mexico City. I want to thank Aprakrita in Montreal, yourself in Hawaii, Vijaya Pandit in Italy, and the list goes on of in Miami, Nilesh Dalal Shama, and all of the people that are participating in our program for propagating the truth in your particular area about Guru Tattva, the principle of bona fide spiritual master and bona fide disciple, and sharing your association with other people. This is very important. And the way to make devotees is to work with people closely, day after day, sharing this information, practicing it yourself, and praying for the mercy of Lord Chaitanya that another conditioned soul will take shelter at the lotus feet of A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Śrīla Prabhupāda. We are not looking for followers. We are looking for disciples, people that are serious to take up the mission of liberating themselves from the repeated cycle of birth and death by the grace of A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. We've reached the end of our program. It's 11:44. We've moved over. These last 2 days have been very enlivening, and thank you everyone for being a part of them. And just remember, any questions that you have, I saw someone's hand came up, Mr. Patel, we'll be able to address them on Wednesday when we have Chaitanya Charitamrita class again, reading and discussion. And look forward to tomorrow's program at your local center or local house or wherever you go to chant your rounds and chant the holy names in association with other devotees and study the scriptures and stay fired up in this process of Krishna consciousness. Don't become discouraged, not even for a second, because you found good association here at the Prabhupada Disciples Association Hare Krishna Society. All glories to the Sankirtan movement of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and all glories to all of you who are the sincere followers of A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada and aspiring disciples. Hari Bol.
Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Hare Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Let us offer our respectful obeisances to all the Vaishnava devotees of the Lord. Vanchakalpa tarubhyascha kripa sindubhya evacha patitanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavibhyo namo namaha. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Yachodananda, Vishwakarma, and all the devotees. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.
Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Juta Padakamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnava Vangsha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathannitam Tang Sajivam Sadaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna